It's 8 p.m. and here are our top stories. From the SWAT team to certified firefighters.
We would get there, evacuate buildings, and then want work, right? Like, what can we do to help?
Meet the local law enforcement officials pulling double duty to help fight Colorado wildfires.
It's up to us, I think, to clean this up and see how we can help this neighborhood heal.
Plus, 6 months after a deadly house explosion, neighbors say the city still hasn't cleaned it up. Now Denver 7 is reaching out to local leaders and getting answers.
In memory of not just Lana, but all the other victims, that will serve as a healing place.
And a new space is helping the friends and families of the King Soopers shooting victims heal and find peace.
Good evening and thank you for watching Denver 7 News on Local 3. I'm Jessica Porter.
And I'm Amy Wattis. After the Cameron Peak fire, the largest in the state's history, some emergency responders stepped up to help fire officials. Those efforts prompted the creation of a team with cops and deputies who could be trained to help during natural disasters. Just last month, the All Hazards Crisis Response Team responded to a deadly flash flood in Buckhorn Canyon. Each person on the 26-person team has an extensive law enforcement background, but after the team's creation, they also became certified wildland firefighters. One member explains why the additional training is so important.
And we would get above our heads pretty quickly. And so that was where the conversation started happening of like, hey, we were really successful with these evacuations, but we put deputies in some bad spots. And then at the same time, we would get there, evacuate buildings, and then want work, right? Like, what can we do to help?
Coming up on Denver 7 News at 10, Denver 7's CB Cotton will go in depth on how the team is helping our state's wildfire response.
People in a Westminster neighborhood are frustrated and fed up. After a home exploded on their street back in February, they say there has still been no effort to clean it up. Denver 7's Rob Harris is in Westminster tonight.
Yeah, he's hearing from those neighbors who say they are angry and worried about the impact on their health.
It has been 176 days since a home explosion rocked this neighborhood in Westminster. And 176 days later, the rubble and debris is still sitting in a pile right here. The homes on either side of this lot have been deemed uninhabitable. But for the neighbors who still live here, they say this pile is not only an eyesore, but also a potential health risk. That's what they've been telling Westminster Councilman Obi Ezedi. Ezedi says there have been some frustrating roadblocks that have kept cleanup from starting, including legal holdups with insurance companies and concerns with asbestos coming from the property. But when he met with neighbors in July and heard their frustration and their pain, he said enough was enough. And just within the last few weeks, he's gotten the city to commit to a cleanup plan.
You know, imagine if you were pregnant and you lived on this block and there's this pile of asbestos next to you. How would you want your neighbors to help you? It's up to us, I think, to clean this up and see how we can help this neighborhood heal.
Ezedi says cleanup is scheduled to start a week from today and take 2 weeks or less. Westminster has allocated $400,000 for the project from rollover funds from previous years. So tonight at 10 o'clock on Denver 7, we're going to hear from a neighbor who's been dealing with this for 6 months now. We're going to hear her pain, her frustration, and also her hope for her neighborhood going forward. In Westminster, I'm Rob Harris, Denver 7.
Looking forward to that at 10. Thank you, Rob. A judge has blocked the city of Lakewood from releasing documents related to Casa Bonita's renovations. On Monday, the new owners, South Park creators Matt Stone and Trey Parker, sued the city to keep sensitive documents secret. The lawsuit says those documents contain security information that, quote, could be used by a person intent with doing mass harm in a public space. They now have 3 weeks to go through those documents to decide what needs to be redacted.
Most people with mild to moderate hearing loss don't seek treatment for one reason or another. Now the FDA is removing some of those barriers for those people by allowing the over-the-counter sale of hearing aids. As Denver 7's Megan Lopez explains, there is mixed reaction to this news.
I've always had hearing issues, significant hearing loss in the higher registers.
For a long time, Kurt Sevitz knew there were things he just couldn't hear.
So I can't hear a lot of high-pitched noises.
But until 4 years ago, he couldn't afford to buy hearing aids. He'd need to pay about $5,000 out of pocket.
A lot of insurance plans don't cover them, especially for adults.
So he saved up for years, went to an audiologist, and got a prescription.
I have been able to hear noises I didn't even realize I wasn't hearing.
Kurt isn't alone. Audiologists believe only about a quarter of people with hearing loss get help. Money is a definite barrier. So this week, the FDA finalized rules to allow over-the-counter hearing aids for people with mild to moderate hearing loss.
We are excited about this FDA announcement. It has been a long time coming.
Wynn Wyman says the new rules give her hope that more people will access hearing aids and the costs will drop.
We're hoping that this will shake up the market and will create a continuum so that people can figure out their match.
Over at the Marion Downs Center, though,
there are many different types, sizes, shapes.
Dr. Sandra Gabbard is more cautious in her optimism. Already she's gotten a lot of calls from patients wanting to know what this means for them.
And I think one of the biggest challenges for everybody, the customer, audiologists, people in hearing healthcare, is going to be how do people accurately self-identify?
The FDA ruling doesn't apply to kids under 18, people with severe or profound hearing loss, or those who are deaf. And there are downsides to people getting hearing aids without a prescription.
And I think part of the harm might be from missing a medical condition. The second thing is, could the device cause harm?
If they turn it up too loud, for instance. Still, Sandra's hopeful.
This is an opportunity to be a good entry-level type of product for people that have been putting off getting help.
As for Kurt, he says he would have tried this option while he saved up.
Really hope it kind of gets the conversation going about hearing aids and coverage for them and how challenging it can be to get them.
For now, he's just grateful to be able to hear. Megan Lopez, Denver 7.
According to the Colorado Commission for the Deaf and Hard of Hearing, more than 758,000 Coloradans are estimated to be either deaf or hard of hearing. Nationwide, 1 in 8 people aged 12 or older has a hearing loss in both ears.
State health officials are building on the success of mobile COVID-19 vaccine clinics to help fight the spread of monkeypox. CDPHE has converted a COVID vaccine unit into one for monkeypox. The state teamed up with the group One Colorado today for a mobile clinic. These clinics will be held weekly. The LGBTQ organization says it is working to confront stigmas around monkeypox. One of them is to avoid using the term monkeypox and instead using MPV instead.
More than a year and a half after the Boulder King super shooting, there is a new support system for victims and families of victims. It was spearheaded by family and friends of Alona Bartkowiak, one of the 10 shooting victims. Denver 7 photojournalist Scott Blessing shows us what they're doing to help.
It's really surreal. It was, I'm really proud of how this came into fruition.
This is a memorial gazebo that we built just this couple weeks ago. It's in honor of the victims who were killed in the Boulder King super shooting. The sister of one of the victims reached out to us, wanted to make a donation in memory of her sister.
In memory of not just Lana, but all the other victims, that will serve as a healing place and a place of refuge and silence and meditation.
Having these kind of memorials and these opportunities to grieve in a way that's constructive is really, really important.
We planted 10 roses, one for each of the victims. Alana loved roses, we all love roses. The rose essence, the rose flower, has the highest vibration of any flower energetically. So it's a way to keep the vibration high around the people who use the gazebo. It's important for me for them to be remembered, for my sister to be remembered, and them all to be remembered, and to turn this horrible situation and try to bring some good out of it and to inspire.
Two critical state primaries end with two very different results.
This primary election is over, but now the real work begins.
See what Representative Liz Cheney's next steps are after losing last night.
They were willing to sell it to this foreign country, all for cold cash.
Plus, a couple with ties to Colorado is accused of spying and selling secrets. Why the judge rejected their plea deals.
And next stop, outer space. Hear about CU Boulder's new search for a vast ocean on one of Jupiter's moons.